everyone, welcome to our channel. My name's Kev Heywood. I run and own AJ Heywood and Sons Agricultural and Groundworks Contractors. Today we're in North Cornwall, a farm, one of our customers, Mark and Sam Vickery, their pig and dairy unit. We've never actually separated pig slurry and cow slurry together, so today could be a bit of an interesting concept. It's quite a thick material that we've got, but before we get to that I just wanted to run through our new MST 400. It's a machine that's been in process development, build, whatever you want to call it, for the last 3 years. Some of you may have seen an earlier machine we had out at the beginning of the year, back in January and February, which was the MST 300. From a distance they look very similar, but over the summer and the last 8 months we've made some huge changes to the machine. So the MST 400 is our fourth version of the slurry separator, and MST stands for manure separating trommel. One of the main changes is the front part of the machine. Beforehand we were using a standard Doda pump to pump the material in, but the problem with that is it actually pumped more than what the separator could separate on an hourly basis, so we had to have a lot of return lines going back to the pit, and we couldn't pump it in under control. So we went back to the drawing board and thought, right, we need to be able to pump it in under control, because we realised that how we pump the slurry into the separator is actually quite crucial to the process. So between us and the guys back at the workshop, we've designed the front part. So I'll run through what that does. We've got a 6 metre folding arm in a 3-stage triangle, so it actually tucks in quite neatly for transport. We've got a Storth Cobra pump, hydraulically driven, which pumps the slurry through the pipework and the arm. The arm will reach out to 6 metres in length, so it can either be dropped into a slurry lagoon or folded up to be dropped in a slatted floor or a reception pit. It can configure in any way depending on how the farm's slurry system's set up. So as I said, it pumps it through the main pipes, and then it comes out of the back of the reeler, and that is where we connect up our 5-inch lay flat hose, which is on the front reeler. We've got approximately about 160 metres that we carry, and that is to pump the material into the machine and pump the liquid away. Underneath we do have a second low pump that's PDO driven. There's a limit to how far the hydraulic pump would pump, typically about 60 metres on quite thick material. If we need to pump it further, like I say, we do have a secondary low pump which is PDO driven off the front of the tractor to help boost the material on, to keep the productivity of the separator, so that we can separate quite a bit on an hourly basis. So we've tried to cover all angles and all scenarios, because every farm and every type of slurry is slightly different, so we need the ability to adapt to each individual customer. All the arm is controlled by levers at the front, and it quite simply folds out. It's very quick and easy. Unreel the pipe that you need, couple it up, and that's pretty much the front bit set up. As we walk down the machine, we actually now come to the main part of the machine, which is the separator. This is the MST 400. The lay flat on the front reeler would come from the hydraulic driven pump, and we connect that to an inlet pipe there. We do have another one on the other side, so we can connect up on either side of the machine, so you're not restricted to where this machine would go. This machine can be dropped anywhere on the farm. There's no limit to distance, because we've covered that with the extra low pump to pump the liquid to it. So this can be put in a silage pit. It doesn't have to be next to the slurry pit. That's the beauty of it, that the tractor can go to the slurry pit, and this machine can be dropped wherever. It's all independently driven. In here we've got its own engine, 6-cylinder lorry engine. It's all hydraulically driven. We decided to go to the hydraulic system rather than a generator and electric like some other separators work on, just for simplicity. Hydraulics are easier to maintain and fix than electric. So yeah, so the slurry enters the machine through that pipe, and I'll just show you inside the engine bay. It would actually come through that pipe and then enters the drum through that 6-inch steel pipe, which is where the process of separation starts. So the slurry enters the main drum, travels through the drum, which I'll show you in a minute how it exactly works. We've got then an inner drum and an outer drum. Some of you may have seen on an earlier video that the inner drum was actually hexagonal shaped rather than circular. The reason why we did that to start with, it was to try and create a folding process in the slurry, so having square edges actually helped with the tumbling effect. It did work, but it was too hard to drive. The actual motors couldn't turn. It's like putting a hamster in a square box. So the motors, which are on here, so there's one on each corner, were actually struggling to turn the material, so it limited how much material we could put through the inner drum. So we decided, after having it out beginning of the year, that we would have to change the inner drum, which I'll just show you. So we got fold down access steps. So yeah, so we've changed that from a hexagonal drum to a circular drum. I can't really show you what happens at the front of that drum because there was a lot of R&D and cost that went into developing how the slurry enters that inner drum. We realised that how it enters the drum is quite crucial to the beginning of the process of separation, and there's different size meshes in there that we've played around with, and we think we've kind of got the optimum size mesh now. We do have a bigger mesh on the inner trommel and a finer mesh on the outer trommel, so you get two screenings in one pass. Makes the machine quite efficient, that you're not having to send it through twice to try and get all the solid material out. As I said just a minute ago, the material enters the front of the drum. It travels up the inner drum. With the bigger mesh, most of the solid then is being separated. The liquid starts to drop out of the inner drum and lands on the outer drum. Underneath the machine is a collection tank. So under there we have a V-shaped tank. On the MST 300 we had a square tank, and what we realised is that because this machine can handle sand bedded material, that the sand was actually collecting in the tank and building up and was restricting the amount of liquid that we had in the tank. So that was one of the other changes that we made, was that we had to make it V-shaped so that the sand would actually travel out of the tank. The liquid that drops out of the main drum lands in that tank, and then it travels through into a secondary tank, which is the press tank really, and then the liquid is drawn off from that tank through this pipe into a Vogelslang hydraulically driven load pump, which pumps it to either return to the lagoon or ideally to a second lagoon. The idea of separation is that you separate from the main slurry pit and put the liquid into a second lagoon for storage for spreading at a later date. So back to the press. This is probably the biggest change apart from the front that we made from the MST 300. Beforehand we had 600mm wide rollers for the press. We've now actually doubled that and made them 1200mm wide. What was happening, we were creating a bottleneck for the material that was coming out of the drum, and that was before, when we had the hexagonal drum, when we couldn't actually load the drum up that much. So if we were going to change the drum and make that more efficient and make it faster, then we had to make the press bigger. So by doubling the width, we've now eliminated that bottleneck that was collecting in there. So the throughput of the machine has pretty much doubled that. A lot of other changes. We had spring tension on the rollers. We've now gone to airbag system so that we can control the pressure of the rollers, and that's all controlled from a control box here. We've got two gauges that control the two rollers and the pressure, so we can adjust that quick and easy. We've got engine speed, drum speed, press speed. So we can fine tune it to every customer, because as we found earlier in the season that every slurry pit is different. Every type of slurry, whether it be sand bedded, sawdust, recycled paper, straw, yeah, it depends on diet of the cows as well. It can make a huge difference to the consistency of slurry. So we needed to build a machine that was adaptable to each individual customer, not just one that kind of does the job all right at one farm but not so good at the next. The machine's totally adaptable to each individual customer. So as I said, the slurry enters the drum. We can control the speed that the slurry comes in through a handle here, and it's got a gate valve at the front, so we can open and shut that, or we can control the hydraulic pump on the front reeler to how much pumps it in. So the machine, we can adapt to get the most efficiency from it by adjustments here and on the pump. We can adjust the angle of the drum so we can hold the material in the longer if we want it slightly drier. We try and split the amount that the two parts do, so the drum would hopefully do 50% of the separation, and then the press would do 50% of the separation as well. Squeeze for the final time, just squeezes out the last lot of the liquid, and then up the elevator into a trailer or into a pile to be moved with a telehandler. So that's pretty much a walk around of the machine. We're going to now set the machine up. You can hear the pigs getting a little bit noisy in the background. They're getting a little bit impatient. As I said, we are on a dairy and pig farm today, so it will be the first time we've actually separated cow slurry and pig slurry. So we're interested to see how that reacts in the separator. So Alan's now pulling off some of the 5-inch lay flat, which he's going to connect up to the actual separator. So we're just going to pull off. It's in 20-meter sections, so we can have short distances, long distances. We broke it down into 20-meter sections so that we don't have to have lots of pipe all laid around the yard. And that was one of the changes that we've made from the MST 300, was when we were using the Doda pump, we had to have like 200 meters of pipe. So now we can just pull off what we need, so it makes it far more quicker for setting up and packing up. As you can see, Al's now just pulling it up through to connect onto the inlet pipe. So yeah, as you can see now, it's just folding the arm out. So we've got a 3-stage arm, and that sort of tucks in nicely for transport. That means that we can configure it either, like I say, into a slurry lagoon like we've got here today, so it can be stretched out straight, or into slurry slats, or a reception pit off of a slurry tower. As you can see, we've got the Storth hydraulic pump on the front. It reaches out to 6 meters in length. As you probably guessed, it's quite windy here today, and that we're quite high up here in Kilcampton at North Cornwall. So I was now just connecting up the 5-inch lay flat to the steel hose. We have to uncouple that for transporting it, just for folding it up. On the machine today, and that he is the main operator of the MST. Al's been the team build or lead builder of it. I come up with all these weird and wonderful ideas on that, and thankfully Al sort of shared my vision on that. He's put a lot of hours into building the machine. So he's the, like I say, he's the main operator. He knows the machine inside out. And that big thank you also to the other guys at Heywood helped build built the front reeler, and Will was our head mechanic's been in charge of all the hydraulics, electrics, all the technical stuff to bring this machine to life. And Gareth also from our D&C engineering department has made all the pins and bushes and all the bits and pieces that you can't buy off the shelf. So as you can see now, we actually got solid material coming out of the drum. Alan's just setting the air pressure for the roller press. and we've got material coming off the elevator. So as you can see in the centre drum, and that we've got quite a bit of solid in the centre, which is where it does most of the work with the bigger mesh. We've also got the outer mesh screening the liquid, and that, and then the roller press giving it its final squeeze. So we've got all the controls on the back of Allen's now. We've got the press speed, the drum speed, the hydraulic pump, the elevator is all controlled from the back of the machine. Beforehand on the MST 300, everything was controlled from the engine bay at the front, and it meant that you had to do a lot of running over and back, having to keep making adjustments to the machine. So we've now moved all the controls to the back, which is where you stood to on the platform. As you can see with the inline flow meter that we've got on the inlet pipe into the trommel, we're currently separating around about 120 to 125 cubic meters per hour. This is approximately 26 to 27,000 gallons an hour, but this can vary massively from farm to farm depending on slurry types. So we've only been running a few minutes and we've already got quite a pile of solid and that off the elevator. As you can see, the product is quite dry and that there's a lot of fibre in it, and that I can give it a good squeeze and there's hardly any liquid coming off of that. It's just a sort of moist and that. All the P and K goes in the solid, the nitrogen stays in the liquid pretty much, and that, so that by separating the two fractions of the slurry makes it far easier to manage. So by having the nitrogen in the liquid for growing grass, and then the solid can be used for soil structure, ploughing in for maize, arable and that, or even be sold on to non-cattle farmers and that, if they wanted to use this to grow crops and that. So it opens up a whole avenue to be able to separate the slurry. The benefits of separating slurry is sort of endless really, from a management point of view. Storage and that, by taking the solid out, can give you up to about 30% more storage in the winter and that. So just that alone is quite invaluable, more than pays for the cost of separating and that. And any dairy farmer who perhaps doesn't need this sort of solid material, who just wants the liquid for growing his grass and that, as you've seen in the other video, the liquid that's coming off is so easy to spread and that, and it will absorb into the soil rather than being on the leaf in a dry summer where you've got thick stodgy material. And then this product here can be then spread with a conventional dung spreader, ploughed in to help with soil structure, or like I say, be sold to an arable farm and that, to grow crops. So yeah, the benefits are huge. So for more information on the MST 400, follow the link below for more information.